Yo YouTube, this is my video for Friday the 6th of June. It is now 9:40. I'm about a third of the way through my journey to get to Wisbech for a pickup going to Kettering. It's 54 loaded miles and I'm about 22 miles away from the pickup. As you can see, it is raining a lot, so I'm having to raise my voice slightly so you can hear me over the windscreen wipers. This job that I'm doing today, I'm going into this job with my eyes fully opened about the company that I'm working for, and I'm, between me and you, I'm preparing for a minor fight with them when it comes to payment, which I am happy to have. So, this is the company that I've worked for once before that wanted me to put a bid on including VAT. And then the following day the owner spoke to me and then authorised the my invoice. So today I have bid £72 for this job. It's I think it's a medium wheelbase van job, or maybe a small van job. And that is basically £60 plus £12 for VAT. And I will be claiming that back in the usual way by invoicing £60 plus VAT. And I know, because I've read it again, that the notes on the CX for this job state that the company will pay the driver if they zero rate their invoice rather than include the VAT. Obviously what they want me to do is to invoice £72 with no VAT, and I am not going to do that. And the implication is that they won't pay the driver if you don't follow their instructions. But I am dying to find out if they don't pay me on time, and when I make a complaint to CX, I will explain to them what I was asked to do and see if they really hold out on payment. Because I suspect they don't want CX to know that they're doing this. So I am deliberately, which is unlike me, doing something that I know will cause friction. Usually I'm very much, let's avoid the conflict, let's avoid the friction. But in this occasion, I think I'm 100% in the right, morally and practically. And so I'm just going to do what I think is right, and then whatever the consequences are, I will deal with it. So I'm sure it's not going to be a problem. So it's only £60. Okay, so there is something I wanted to mention that I was doing some work on the last couple of days, and it's about me analysing my people that pay me late. So I've been doing this job on CX for a little over 2 years now, and in that time I've had 4 invoices not paid, and that company then exit CX and disappear, and the only way I can get money back off them would be to take them to court, which I've just not got the time and inclination to do for the amounts that are involved. I've had 18 companies that have paid me late, and I've only done 1 job for them. So every job they've paid late. I've not only done 1 job because I've sort of barred them, it's just that I've not happened to come across them again. So that's a lot more than I thought it was going to be. And I appreciate that when I first started, I might have got some late payments because I was doing something wrong, perhaps not posting something. So I haven't really included those, I don't think, in that this scenario, but certainly in the last year I know what to do and how to correctly apply for invoices. So anything in the last year that is late is down to the shipper. And then I've got a list of about another 10 shippers which have had problems with them for some reason. For example, lack of information, or having to on more than one occasion having to ring them and ask for payments to be paid that are late. So kind of more persistent offenders, but who do pay. So all the ones that paid late did pay, those 18, and all the ones on my third list, sort of the 10 or so, did pay. It was only 4 that have never paid and will never pay. And I've got one more currently outstanding that I think is going to be difficult to get money from, but I am hopeful, more hopeful than I was a few days ago. But I feel now that I've been through enough of the process to understand how to chase promptly and correctly on CX for any payments that are late. And my view is, I don't mind a regular shipper paying me a bit late if there's a reason. I don't even mind a one-off shipper paying me late if, when I contact them, they immediately deal with it. What I don't like is when shippers ignore you when you're chasing late payments, and that I think is extremely rude, and it's something that I find hard to understand or sort of accommodate. And so I tend to go more very softly at the start, and if I get no response, gradually increase the harshness of my request. I'm never get to a point where I get abusive or aggressive. There's just no point, but I do get more assertive over time. And yeah, so that was what I've been doing last couple of days, and it was quite interesting to have that sort of the numbers of people that do pay late. And last point, I mentioned in a video earlier this week that the CX are going to do things to help in the summer to help alleviate late payments, and so I'm hoping that this will be something that gets less and less common over time. And we'll see. Okay, I am 15 minutes away from a pickup. I'll speak to you later. Cheers! Welcome back, YouTube. I have dropped off my first load at just outside of Kettering, a place called Desborough, and I took on a tentative bid for a 1 o'clock pickup from LE7, which is 25 minutes drive away, about 18 miles. It was a small van job going to Atherstone. The actual job itself is about 24 miles loaded, and I thought I probably won't get it, but I'll stick it on while I'm looking at other work. And then I got a call pretty quickly. So £50, 50, for a small van job going, I mean, a total of my mileage to get to pick up is 18 plus 24, so that's what, 42 miles? I used to be better at maths. 42 miles in total, £50. So can't really complain about that. Keeps me moving, and it'll put me on what 110 for the day, and I'll be there about before 2 o'clock. So I don't know, see how today goes. Might just poodle around doing little jobs today. Who knows? Anyway, I'll let you know how it goes. Farewell. Hello YouTube, so a quick update. I'm currently still doing my second job. I made a bit of an error on the drive to the collection point, and it's something I don't do that often, but every so often it does happen, and it's completely my fault. I had, prior to accepting the job, stuck on LE7 as my destination, just to see how far it was from where I was at the time. And then when I got the job, I just merrily went on my way to LE7, and I ended up at my pickup point being in the middle of the countryside, about 7 miles away from where I should have been. And I put the full postcode in. Luckily, I was half an hour early for the pickup, so by the time I'd realised it, got to the right place, found the right front door of the entrance, I was bang on time. And then obviously I did the same with the Atherstone postcode, but that didn't affect me because by the time I'd got to the pickup, I realised that was my mistake, and then it was still 24 miles as per the CX booking to get to Atherstone. So I've changed the postcode now for my destination, and I'm on my way to there now. I'm going to be there at 2 o'clock, which is the time that they said they wanted to be there for. And the only other thing of note is the shipper did not mention, when they gave me the job, anything about handballing. And then when I read the notes, it said in the notes that at the drop-off place they would appreciate some help with handballing. And I was thinking, oh well, I'll do a bit if I can, I'll do what I can, but if it's a lot, I just can't do it. When I arrived at the pickup point, it was a reception area full of boxes and trolleys and various items, about 20 in total, a variety of weights and sizes. And there was very little people on site. There was one person that knew what it's for, vaguely, and I asked them if they could help me put this stuff on my van. And there was 2 trolleys that I could wheel to my van, but even with me helping him, there's no way I could physically lift half of the weight of the trolley. It was a trolley full of sort of, you get this little, when you get to convention centres, you get like canvas bags with so-called goodies in for the people that are going. And it's just jam-packed full of these canvas bags, and it just was way too heavy for me to lift, even with help. So I helped with all the lighter stuff, but even walking sort of from my van into reception and back again, did that 3 times, and by the 4th time I was really, really struggling. And I think it helped that he saw I was struggling. I wasn't putting it on, I just genuinely was finding it hard to walk. So when we got to the last 2 trolleys, he went off and got a lady to help him, and they put the little trolleys on my van. So by just asking nicely, I tend to get by. My personal view on these things are, it's a very wide-ranging response that I would think is acceptable. So personally, I think that my job as a same-day courier is to drive to secure the load, drive to the correct place at the correct time, making sure that communicate clearly along the way, and then deliver the goods to the right place. I don't feel it's my job to do a lot of loading and unloading in my van. I will do some. I think the odd, passing something off your van to somebody, or walking maybe a few meters to do it is fine. In this scenario, if I was fully fit, collecting the items from reception, taking them to my van, I think is a perfectly reasonable thing to expect a driver to do. It's just that I just cannot physically do it. And so I think it's perfectly reasonable that if that's the sort of load, that the shipper does tell the driver there is a bit of handballing to be done to get from reception to your van. And I think, having not been told that, I think I feel that I've done the best I can. If I had been told on the phone there is some handballing to do, I would have said to the guy, how much is there, because I'm going to struggle with it. And he wouldn't have known, so he may or may not give me the job at that point. And because he didn't mention it, I don't feel that I'm in the wrong here at all. And the other thing to note is, I have got a pretty clear note in my business profile which states that unfortunately I can't now do any handballing due to health concerns or health issues. So it's not like I'm hiding it from anyone. And if a shipper thinks there's some handballing, I think they should really tell the driver. They can't just assume that every driver can handball stuff, because that's not, I think, necessarily part of the job. I think a bit of light handballing is very reasonable and perfectly acceptable, but there is a point at which that becomes taking the mick somewhat. I don't think this was that case. I just think that it would have been nicer or better if the shipper had said to me, "Are you aware? Well, I'm letting you know there's some ship handballing involved." But obviously, he probably didn't even know what it was. Probably didn't even know what we were taking and how much of it was. So I'm not going to criticise the shipper for that, but I'm just going to say that it's really something that they should know more about and they should communicate. Because I don't think it should be assumed that the driver can do a lot of handballing. And I would call what I did today a lot. Other people wouldn't do. They might call it a moderate amount, but you know, it's all a very grey area. So luckily I was able to get help to do all the bits I couldn't do. I carried, I think, 3 light boxes to my van, thank you, from the reception area, and then I sort of loaded up the things inside my van when I'd done that. Right, okay, I'll let you know about my next job when I get it. Cheers. Hello YouTube. Right, so it's definitely a busy day today, because every time I put a bid on, I get it straight away. Again, same thing happened here. I got to Atherstone and offloaded my stuff. It took a while because they wouldn't come to the gate and open it up. I had to call people and they weren't answering. I had to wait and wait, and eventually got there. So by the time I'd finished all that, I'd arrived at 2 o'clock on site and I was finished by about past. So I put a bid on going from Leicester postcode to Stafford, long wheelbase van job. It's 48.5 miles loaded, and I bid £60, 60, and I'm currently about 19 miles away from Leicester to pick up. About half an hour to drive there, a bit over half an hour. So it's going to be a bitty day today. I'm hoping to have time to get one more little job in that heads somewhere towards home. I'm not sure if that's going to happen or not. I'm going to be probably about 4:30 at the drop off, so probably it's going to be a bit too late. But yeah, so I'll just have to deal with it as I get there. Stafford's hit and miss, I think, for jobs. Stoke's not very far away, and I'll probably just head back towards Derby from there and just see if anything pops up on the way home. I'm a bit tired at the moment, and having done 3 jobs, I would have got about 170 gross, which isn't great, but it's not a disaster. So I think if I have an early day and just head home, that's not the end of the world. And yeah, so that's probably what I'll end up doing, and I'll look forward to that, getting home tonight. But if a job comes up, even better. I'm probably not going to do like a long distance job away from home. Right, okay, I think that's all I wanted to tell you, and I'll let you know what happens next on my exciting adventure back into this world. Hello there, YouTube. You find your narrator and hero in quite an exhausted state of mind at the moment because of what's happened over the last 2.5 hours, I think. I'm not going to do my usual thing and go through from start to finish what's happened. I really can't bring myself to repeat what I've had to go through. It's not been that bad, it's just been quite irritating. It's not like I've hurt myself or damaged anything, it's just really poor communication. So, to summarise, I picked up the job when I was at Atherstone at 2:50, and I arrived at the correct site at at 3:50. It's now 5:15, and I have just left the pickup site. My journey will be an hour, and then at the other end I'm relying on the driver to unpack the pallet, handball on all the items back onto his onward journey on his lorry, and that's all I'm going to say. It's been, I wouldn't say it's been interesting, it's just been exhausting. I've been in constant communication with the shipper, who's found it equally as frustrating. The bottom line is, nobody who was working today had the shipping or delivery numbers, any sort of reference number, and anyway, so I'm on my way now, but I'm not that amused about the whole thing. Let's put it that way. Cheers. Hello YouTube. Well, this has turned out to be an interesting day. I have offloaded the nightmare job now. That was in Uttoxeter, and the drop-off one. The drop-off wasn't a nightmare. It was the pickup which was difficult. And that was finished at around about 6:15, maybe 6:30, I can't remember. And I was heading home when a job came up from Kingswinford to Sleaford, small van job, about 114 loaded miles. The thing is, I'm 36 miles away from Kingswinford, about an hour and a quarter, but it's not picking up until 8:30. So if I head there now, I'll get there for 8 o'clock, so I'll get there in time, and it takes me pretty close to home, so I put a bid on. And usually in this situation I put a slightly higher bid on than I would usually go with, and I never get the job. But this time I did get the job, so I'm getting £120, 120, which is perfectly reasonable, I think, for a small van job going 114 miles. I've got to drive for an hour and a quarter to pick it up, but I'll be there with half an hour to spare, and on the way I should just get some food, because that'll be a good little treat for me. So I had done my stats because I was on my way home, but now I'm going to have to add on around about £100 to my earnings for doing this last job, which is going to make both today and the week very satisfactory. Well, I will let you know more when I get to Kingswinford. Cheers. Right, what a day. What a day indeed it's been. Full of ups and downs and lots of plateaus. So quick summary, no job booked in the morning. I got a job with the first bid with Speech Kettering for a low amount of money. Second job I got straight away from Leicester to Atherstone, again little money. So by midday, having had a bit of a wait at the second drop, not much, but about 20 minutes, I was then on 2 little jobs, thinking one more job and then go home. I got that little job, which was from Leicester to Uttoxeter, and that turned out to be a bit of a nightmare. It tried my patience, but I managed to keep my cool, and in the end that £60 job became £120 by the time we got it all sorted out. Shipper offered that and I was happy to accept that, but that took a lot longer than it should have done. So rather than being in Uttoxeter and finished about 4, it was more like 6. So I started driving home, and then I had a quick look at jobs before I went home. I could have just ignored the CX and gone straight home, but I found a job going from Kings Wingford, which was not on the way back, but it was going to Sleaford. So I stuck a speculative bid on there, and had to drive an hour and a quarter to go pick it up. Not quite in the opposite direction, sort of perpendicular to where I was going, and got that picked up in time at 8 o'clock. I just delivered that at 11 o'clock at Sleaford, and now got a 35-minute drive home. It's 26 miles, so close to my record, being back at home at the end of the day. And I'm going to be home at the moment by 10 past midnight. So the last 2 jobs were both valued at 120, and that made my day, really. I've got lots of money today. I feel at the moment quite awake. I don't feel tired. No more tired than I would at this time if I was at home, and not that tired, to be honest. And I feel good. I've worked hard and I've got a good amount of money, and it's also saved my week. So I was really struggling to make £600 net, but I have achieved that today. So I'm really pleased with how today went. It just shows you how not only can one day be different from the next, actually within your day you're working, it can be very different from one moment to the next. Okay, I'll give you some stats for today first of all. So my average fuel price for this week is currently 13.53 pence per mile. Today I have driven a total of 398 miles, 398. I will have worked, by the time I get home, 14 and a quarter hours, and I have made £350 gross from 4 CX jobs. My fuel for today has come to £53.85, so let's round that up to £54, which means that my net earnings today come to £296. Bearing in mind it's a Friday, I can also give you my weekly stats. Before I do that, just a reminder that each week I need to earn £315 just to cover my business costs, excluding the fuel. So whatever figure I give you today for my total earnings for this week, you need to take off 315 to cover all of my business costs. And I already do the figure net of fuel, so whatever's left after that figure is what I've earned for myself. So this week I've actually worked for 4 days. I have worked a total of 31 and 3/4 hours. My total mileage for the week is 1,089 miles. My gross earnings are £815, 815. I spent £145 on fuel in total, which means that in the end, because of that last job, I broke the 600 barrier net. So £670, 670 is what I've earned this week. So we take off the 315, then I've actually earned for myself £355, which is, I'm very pleased with that. I have earned, for every mile that I've driven, I've earned 61.54 pence, and over the 4 days my average daily net income comes to £168.168. So there's something that I can try and beat next week. I should be doing 4 days again next week. I'm next at work on Monday, and I do actually have a job booked in for Monday already. So, thank you very much for listening to my video. I hope that you are all being successful, having chosen to find that word for yourselves. It's been an interesting end to my video because it's so dark, so you really are listening rather than seeing much. But I'll see you next on Monday. Farewell, friends.